I'm just about to plant 3 hardy cherry trees, I guess probably better called cherry shrubs or bushes. They're 3 new varieties, or new to me anyway, that were developed at the University of Saskatchewan, hardy to zone 3, and they only grow 7 to 8 feet tall and are supposed to produce their first fruit in the 3rd year, so time will tell. Various sizes here. They're all supposedly 1-year-old plants, and they all look healthy, nice green buds that are starting to open. But this one here, if you can see, is probably 18 inches tall. This one in the middle is, I don't know, 10 inches or so, and this one's probably 6 or 7 inches. But anyway, 3 different named varieties, if you can read them on there: Romeo, Crimson Passion, and Juliet. They call it the Romance series, I think. Anyway, I'll show you them once I get them in the ground, just because the only thing that I can find to tag them with are these little numbered tags of mine, and they are on the list below this video. But I want to make reference to which is which in the video, because I'm sure the little numbered tags will disappear, and 2 or 3 years from now, if they are bearing fruit, I'll be interested to know which is which. The only thing I'm putting in the ground with them is some of my own compost here that it's about 1.5 years old, I guess. I thought I would be clever and empty that composter, because I have 2, and one is full of new stuff that's just starting to compost. Eggshells don't compost very well. But anyway, dug down 8-10 inches and got this, but below the 8 or 10 inch level, it's still solid ice, so that's not going to happen for a bit yet. I mean, I'll plant these and show you what they look like. Well, they're very small, so nothing much shows, I guess, here, but those tomato supports, the curly steel things, they're not there for support. They're just there to keep me from hopefully stepping on the little cherry shrubs or mowing them off with a lawnmower until they get big enough that I can really see them. Up closest to the trees at the top is number 65, which is Juliet. In the center is Crimson Passion, and closest to the camera here is Romeo. I was very pleased when I knocked them out of the pots to see that they aren't just something that was bare root and been thrown in those little 4-inch pots. I think they were rooted cuttings that spent last year growing in the pots. There's a nice root system, which I sort of flared out some. It was a little root band at the bottom, but much better to see that than other things that I have bought online when they arrive. You think it's in a pot and you go to knock it out, and yeah, it's been in a pot for about 20 minutes. Anyway, one more little thing I want to show you, and that's the end of my cherry tree saga. I think I said these are planted at the edge of that sheet mulched bed with all of the manure on it. I didn't put them in it, but I'm sure that if rainstorms this summer, a lot of the nutrients will leach out of that bed and they'll get benefit from it. The area is very acidic. I haven't used any lime yet on these cherry shrubs, but I have another sack. As soon as I open it and start using it, I'll put some lime around them. But what I wanted to show you here is for Walter's benefit. Walter's one of these, I'm not certain which one that he purchased, but he bought one of these cherries, I think maybe Crimson Passion. Anyway, this is Romeo, Walter, and it had the same sort of thing that you had. I think this little branch is even smaller than the one that you laid over to the side, but hadn't been pruned off, and it's got, as you can hopefully see there, it's got green buds. There are several green buds that I put under the compost here and weighed it down with a stone, and this little stone here is just to prop it up out of the dirt when it does leave out. Hopefully that will root, and next spring this time I can cut it off and have another one. I'm glad to see that what they did was rooted cuttings anyway. When these things get bigger, I will take some cuttings if I like the cherries and want more of them. Well, that's it for the cherry saga. I'm about to make some changes in the hoop house. First, what you're looking at here, these 2x4 standing up with chicken wire on them. I've grown, say, peas and cucumbers up them the last couple of years in here, but they're going to come down. I'm going to grow both peas and cucumbers outside in the garden this year. So that will give me that little extra space there to use for something. But over on the far wall, those two benches were in an old greenhouse. Well, the greenhouse that I've just torn down this spring. It was in horrible condition. It's been an eyesore for a number of years, and that's where I'm building a new chicken coop right now. But they were in there, and I brought them out here when I built the hoop house. And I do get some use out of them, but I look at it as wasted space. It's storage for junk on the bottom shelves, and occasionally I do have some trays and things on top, but I find that early spring seedlings grow better in trays down on the soil than the other raised beds. So those are coming out, and for this summer I'm going to mulch all of that grass that you see under there. Mulch that with, weed barrier. And I will put the containers with my peppers over there, at least my peppers, and maybe some containers with something else if there's room. Probably the artichoke will go over there too. And in the fall I'm going to build another raised bed. There's probably room for a raised bed about 2 feet wide, and like the other beds in here, 16 feet long. So I will build that bed in the fall and put the soil out of all the containers that I'm using this summer in it. So that will give me that much more growing space in the hoop house. Well, I've watched a number of people that have Hugel Culture, or Hugel Culture, however you pronounce it, beds made out of logs covered with dirt, whatever. And I've thought about having one, but I've never got around to it. Well, the nasty, ugly ditch that I dug across in front of the hoop house, I've been just trying to think of where I can put the sods and soil and whatever that came out of there. So I also have this pile of logs back there, if you can see them, from when I built the hoop house 3 years ago. I cut down a lot of deciduous trees, hardwood trees that were shading it out in the summertime, and planned to use them as firewood, but then I switched to using bio bricks and liked it better than having to chop logs and split them, so they've just been piled there. So I'm starting a Hugel Culture bed, whatever I can cover with the dirt that I have here, and then later on, I think when I clean out the coop the next time, I will just put that over the top of it, and I don't know, maybe in the spring sheet mulch the top of it or something, I don't know. I won't be using it this year, but I'm getting it started anyway. Well, there's a very crude beginning to a Hugel Culture bed. I didn't add any more wood than what you saw originally, and that is, I guess, about everything that I had dug out of the trench. So I think I will continue to build it this summer and fall when I'm cleaning out the chicken coop. Got lots more logs there that I can add to it, and I think I'll add a layer of the chicken manure and shavings over the top of this area as well. Anyway, the logs are already 3 years old, so by next year they will be 4 years old, one year under the sods and things here, so maybe I'll be able to plant some things in it next year and see how it works. Well, it's Monday, May 5th. We've never had what I would call a warm day yet. I think it got up close to 15 the other day. But I am bringing out some of my plants, transplanting them into the hoop house, just as a trial, I guess, hoping I don't lose them, but not much sense in having the hoop house if you don't use it. So these are those tomatoes that I started, just one of each of the varieties. I'm not sure which one this is. Planting this thing as sideways as I can plant it without breaking it off, hopefully. They've grown quite tall and spindly, but another reason I want the plant to come up out of the side of the smart pot, because they're indeterminates and will need to be staked, and I don't want to have to drive a stake down through my smart pot. So I've brought out both of the tomatoes that I started early. The other ones are too small. They've been transplanted into 4-inch pots, but they're just at the 2 or 3 leaf stage. This is that commercial mix that I use. Shown you the bags before. Plus it has quite a bit of my own compost mixed in, and some blood and bone meal. So with the plant over on the side like that. I'm hoping I'll be able to stake it, but for now it's going to go under row cover over here on one of these raised beds, and as a test I'll keep an eye on it for a week, and if nothing happens to the plants that I'm putting out here today, I'll bring out some more. Anyway, I will show you what they all look like once I've finished, and then I'll cover them over with the row cover. That's the 2 tomato plants and the 4 pepper plants, I guess, all potted. And in behind them, back where you see the beginning of the pile of row cover and whatever, that is my bay laurel, rosemary, parsley, and that one black Spanish radish that I was growing in the house. They've been out here for several days under row cover and have done all right. So these things I just brought out are much more delicate though, so time will tell. But I will show you what they look like in a few minutes when I get them tinted with row cover. But first I wanted to show my strawberry pot. Somebody has been, or several people actually, I guess, have been suggesting ways of watering it, and one of them was to put a perforated drain pipe down through it, which would be good if the pot were larger, but the smallest perforated drain pipe that I know of is 4 inches, I think. So I'm doing what Wayne Meter did on his, I hope I pronounced your name correctly there, Meter, on his video. He just took I think he was using like a 2-liter pop bottle or something. Some kind of juice came in this one. Filled it with water, invert it over your hand, and then just plug it down in the soil. This is the second time that I filled that and put it there, and it's been quite fascinating, really. Takes the better part of 24 hours for it to slowly drain down in and water the strawberries, and hopefully you can see there are quite a few blossoms and some that I guess have been pollinated. The petals are falling off anyway. So there are the plants tinted with spun bonded row cover. There's no wind or anything inside of the hoop post, so I don't have to worry about it blowing away. And all I did was put 3 or 4 metal tomato supports in the ground and laid that over top of it as a tent. If we do get cold enough for frost, and we're not supposed to, not in the foreseeable forecast here anyway, but if we do, frost forms on the plastic of the hoop house rather than on the surface inside, and the tent itself should hold some of the heat from the dark brown soil that the containers are sitting on. So that's my theory, and I hope it works. I'll show you in a few days whether or not I lose anything here. Well, I'm just about to plant some more potatoes. Brendan, you're growing potato peelings, or they've come up. Hopefully you're going to get potatoes out of it. Evidently I'm going to grow marbles. I placed an order with West Coast Seeds for a variety pack of potatoes. I'm not surprised at the weight or the amount of potato. I realized I was ordering 500 grams, supposedly 4 different varieties. And I do believe I've got 4 different varieties, and most of them are okay, except I can't believe that they would send anybody those for seed potatoes. But this is a Blue Russian. I only got 1 of them, but I only had 1 Cara last year and had good luck, so we'll try 1 Blue Russian. Nothing rare or exotic about these ones. They're Yukon Gold. This one is what they're calling a Chieftain, which I think is now what we call a Norland. I think Chieftain has been renamed just because it was considered to be an insult to our Native Americans. And I think that might be another Yukon Gold because it's not red like the one that I'm saying is the Chieftain or Norland, but I'm going to put them in the same pot. I can't imagine putting 1 marble in a pot. And I'm not sure how to pronounce these. Sleglinde. Sleglined? German, I believe. I almost think that is a character in maybe a Wagner opera or something, but I'm not certain. Anyway, they are, I think, yellow-fleshed as well. And none of these were labeled. They came in a little box, but going by the description, this is the shape that they said that sleg-lined should look like. So I'm going to pot them up and we'll see what happens here. And they're in the list below on the video, 68 through 71. So time will tell if I get anything out of planting marbles or not, Brendan. Well, my 25 Chantecler hatching eggs arrived. They look to be in excellent condition. I really like the way they're packaged, all in foam, and they had a foam covering over the top of them that I've just removed. Fits snugly over the top. They were about 48 hours being shipped here, and now they have to set for 12 to 24 hours just to stabilize them before you put them in the incubator. So I'm going to leave them setting overnight, and tomorrow morning I'll put them in the incubator. Tomorrow is May 8th, so roughly around the 29th of May I should see what hatches. Long prior to that I will do some candling and remove any eggs that aren't viable. I'm sure they were all good viable eggs when they left the breeder, but shipping does tend to reduce viability quite a bit. So I'll come back in the morning and show them being put into the incubator. Well, good morning, everybody. May 8th. The eggs rested in their shipping container overnight. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, they have to rest with the large end pointing up. I think I did mention that. I just finished arranging them in the tray. 25 eggs. My incubator only holds 24. The incubator's been running for several days to make sure the temperature was correct, and it has water in one of the areas in the bottom. Make sure that the water has warmed up. And there we are. 21 days from now we should have some chickens anyway, either the 29th or the 30th, around in there of May. But on the 7th day I will candle them, and if there are any that obviously are not viable, I will remove those, because they can be a contamination issue if they spoil in there with the other eggs. But we're off and running on a new batch of Chantecler chickens.